Welcome to Brown Bag Bets, powered by BetSperts. We are your daily dose of quick hit handicapping and sports betting picks. Andy, how you doing today?
Good. Yeah, Monday is come and gone. Watched a little ball, took it easy. It snowed. Actually, we had like a snowstorm yesterday. Cleaned up the driveway. Back at it. There's basketball tonight. I don't. Anybody who follows me on BetSperts realizes I didn't make any plays in the two NIT games, but I will have some. I'll talk about them a little. Few angles here and there. The association goes on. Men and women's tennis. Wrangling on. Baseball is closer. We teased that a little last night in the deep dive. We will have an extended conversation with Adam Burke, who we had on the Brown Bag Bets earlier in the month. Talk a little more baseball. So, and hopefully we can get a chance to get him and maybe some other baseball contributors, content creators, handicappers, experts, anything like that onto the show as we go forward through the summer, because there's a ton of baseball to talk about if you really want to bet every single day. For now, we'll just dive into tonight. I should always start by thanking the sponsor, WinBet. $500 free bet. We're getting dangerously close to another state, $1,000 in Michigan. Be sure to sign up. Links in the podcast description or on our Twitter. If you want, you can still get free sweatshirts. We're still just slinging free sweatshirts. Anytime you sign up, get a new account, I'm still getting those emails. We're still shipping them out. Apologies to anyone who's got back ordered. That was just like a COVID thing, I guess, from Under Armour, which is a pain in our butt because we had to sit and apologize to people. But at the same time, they're coming. Everyone's getting one. Keep them coming. And let's talk some association.
Indeed. The NBA continues on. We've got 7 games tonight. I've got 2 plays. We'll start at the first game tonight. Utah's playing Boston. I believe this will probably be the game on TNT, or God, maybe they're not going to make us watch Atlanta, Houston, or Cleveland, Miami. I really hope it's the Utah-Boston game. But like the Celtics team total over here, I think that Boston is going to be really competitive in this game. They continue to get better, having players come back. Marcus Smart has made a big difference here. They match up very well with Utah. I mean, they're a team that has a lot of good wings. Guys like Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are really going to challenge Utah. Yes, they've got Gobert protecting the rim, but those guys are comfortable operating on the perimeter, doing things like that. So I think we're going to see a very competitive game. I think it's going to be fast-paced. Was looking at an over, was maybe looking at finding a way to bet Boston here, but I just like this team total over a lot more than I like the spread or the total. Again, Boston's really putting it together here. I've got them scoring 114.5, almost 115 points. So a little bigger edge here for me than on the total and the spread. So we'll take the team total over on the Celtics. Andrew.
Well, especially now that they kept their coach and he didn't go to Indiana, which was the most hilarious rumor. I get that there's some weird hires. Like BC made a weird hire. There's some weird Richard Pitino got hired like 7 minutes after he got fired from Minnesota. Like, people do make some odd hires. Like, it wasn't happening. Like, he wasn't going to go to Indiana.
Yes, it's Indiana. It's one of the best college jobs in the world. He's in the arguably the greatest NBA franchise of all time. It's the Celtics or the Lakers. They have, I think between the two of them, 33 or 34 championships at this point. It's nuts. Like, it's ridiculous. He's not leaving the big show.
Well, I'm betting it over. I like overs.
We'll jump one more here. My Philadelphia 76ers, another team total over 112. It's nice. A lot of simple numbers today, Andy. 2 teams, same number. The Sixers, again, without Joel Embiid, are hosting the New York Knicks. Again, looking here for ways to attack the Sixers. The spread here at -7 is right about what I would make it normally. But I think we're going to see a lot of points tonight. I think the Sixers are going to cruise over this number. Again, I have this at 115, almost 115.5 myself. So like the Sixers tonight to put up a lot of points. We generally see a little higher pace when Embiid's off the floor. And I think that they're going to have no problem scoring without Embiid, given Simmons, given Harris, and all the shooting that'll be on the floor. Knicks on a back-to-back, and I think a 3-4. So good spot for the Sixers here. I'll take the team total over.
Yeah, maybe not a full letdown spot, but it's got to be a little getting the shit kicked out of them, essentially. Maybe not true. I mean, it was close, but maybe it wasn't as close as the final score appeared. Like, there were times where the Knicks were not in that game. It was like touted as oh, look, these teams are over 500. It's such a weird thing to promote. Like, both the New York teams are sort of good, and the Knicks are not sort of good. I mean, obviously the Nets are a good team, but the Knicks are just accidentally above. Yeah, they're above 500. Congrats. So
they got Tom Thibodeau as the coach. I mean, anybody who's going to run these guys on the ground like that is going to win a lot of regular season games. So hats off to anybody that had their team total over before the preseason. It was probably pretty close to the top of my list of cross-offs, unfortunately, but Thibodeau wins games, regular season games.
Yeah, and he's just a different kind of coach. If you get the right players around him who basically, I'm going to say it, put up with him, like, that respond to his style of coaching, it's not going to be bad. It's not going to be a disaster. He's not a disaster coach, but I don't care for him. I'm not a big fan. I don't know. I didn't like him here. I didn't like him Chicago. I'm not a Thibodeau guy. So we'll fade it. We'll play some team total overs. Those are a lot more fun than, especially when you do see, hopefully not blowouts, because blowouts can sometimes kill these as well. But hopefully the underdogs can compose themselves, keep within some sort of striking distance, and get us there. And we'll dig into some other sports this week. I haven't fully gotten my golf together yet. I said I'm going to be faster about it, especially in a couple weeks when we don't have college basketball at all, and I don't have a weekend full of college basketball to futz around with. But right now it is a little slower. I was able to run my golf numbers a little faster, which made me very happy. Like, I'm fully appreciative of that. It's great to actually bet into some decent numbers. I'm probably going to bet head-to-heads this afternoon, which is, I've been betting like Wednesday night, just like the end of the market, which sucks. It sucks to get the worst of the number. Like I said, I'm there, but I do have a look on outrights. This is a really poopy field. Like, it's actually pretty bad. There's, I don't know, anyone who's followed along to like tennis betting has seen, some of these small tournaments that fall before or right after a slam. They have, they will struggle to get good fields into some of those tennis events. Same thing with the golf. Like, it's right after the players. People are taking off, not only because they have to prepare for other big tournaments coming up, but it's right after a big one. And then not only that, like 3 people got COVID. It wasn't anyone super high on the list, but I mean, Doc Redmond and
like to see
Gary Woodland, they're good. And Piercy too. He's a decent player. So not only was it a bad field, but it's a bad field that's been further decimated by COVID. So we're getting some Monday qualifiers in. It's a bad field. Like, essentially you're seeing Daniel Berger. He won a tournament earlier this year. He won the AT&T. He's been great, but he's like 10-1. Like, Daniel Berger being 10-1 is
he's usually in the 40s and 50s, right?
Yeah, he's usually quite a bit bigger of number. So that says a lot about this field. And I still can't make a case for somebody super deep. In the past, there have been some pretty good players that have won this. Obviously, this was held at a different time in the year in previous years, so we did see better fields here. But I do like Mr. Niemann, Jocko from Chile here. He's a guy I've liked a lot. He's on the upswing. He's young. His last 5, he's gaining a ton tee to green. I think over 5 strokes per round tee to green. God, where is it? Yeah. The Sony and the Tournament of Champions, he was just murdering the ball, getting it to the green. He's not a bad putter. I don't weight putting hardly at all, so I don't really give a shit about it. But he's a decent enough putter where he can play well. I'm going to play him probably outright. I'm going to look at some top 5, top 20 prices. So there's a rogue 20-1 out there. I think it's FanDuel. It's either FanDuel or DraftKings. I'm not sure. I'd have to double check again. But for the most part, he's 16, 18-1. I don't like much less than 18. I got a 20 on him yesterday. So probably not doing a ton with outrights this year, but in a shit field like this, I am going to grab some Niemann and play the derivatives like the Europeans do with the each way stuff. I'm going to play top 5, top 20, top 10. Some books have top FanDuel. 40 markets. FanDuel has top 40 markets, I believe, too. That's a fun one. So look at those derivatives. Let me know what you think. If you have anything, and like I said, I will have all my outrights out hopefully this afternoon or into early tomorrow morning, and we'll talk about some of them on the show tomorrow.
Did you have a nice drive to Iowa?
I'm going to now. No, I bet there's a ex-Tony book had 20-1 yesterday.
There you go. I like that. That's pretty good. Yeah,
I was just looking at some of the
FanDuel's 20-1, DraftKings 13-1. So
do shop around. Do shop around, yes. And that's why I look, because
FanDuel, you might also have WinBet.
That's true. I should check what he is at Win. Either way, do shop around in these. I didn't bet it at FanDuel. I just was looking at some of the legal books, because sometimes the outright prices are just off market in certain places for that. So do shop around, and what's some tennis? Monterrey and St. Petersburg, soldier on.
We do. Now, normally I would jump into Monterrey because I'd have a lot of these picks for St. Petersburg out already, but there's a match that starts in 2, maybe 2.5 hours at this point. I'm going to take the over here. Teresa Martincova is playing Stephanie Voegele. Two players that Martincova is a fairly big favorite here. I think it's given some of her recent play. Voegele hasn't played quite a bit, but two veteran players. They generally play very long matches, even when they're only 2 sets. I have this number at 21. Not like 21.5, where I do a lot of times, but I would hang a juicy 20.5 or a cheap 21 here. So being able to get 20, and I think it was minus 115, so a little more than standard juice, was really nice. 20 is a very key number in totals. Just you get a chance to push on 6-4, 6-4, 7-5, 6-2. Again, it's just a lot of value in that number 20 versus the 20.5 and the 21. So we'll go over 20 here. Again, I would make it 21. And this starts, I think, let me just double check again, in just a few hours. It's the last match on St. Petersburg, I believe, which should start about 2 p.m. Eastern. So we'll see. It won't start before then. Tennis matches only start later, never earlier, folks.
Yeah, pretty much how it goes.
And then Monterrey, we've got a parlay from yesterday we have to close out. On Lee won, and we've got Heather Watson up at 2 p.m. to close that out. And then another parlay. Going to grab Kaha Juvan here. She was able to qualify and is just one of the more talented players in the field. Her rating hasn't quite caught up to her game. I was actually surprised that she had to qualify for this field, but she's here. She's in solid form. Her first-round matchup is a woman, Maria Camila Osorio Serrano, a player that I think at some point will be very good. I'll get used to saying all 4 of those names more, and maybe even have a Serrano Major League joke at some point, Andy. But for now, I'm going to be betting against her. Again, I just expect her to be outclassed. She qualified as well, so she, no form advantage here for Kaha, just, talent. I look at my numbers, the line here for Juvan, when I bet this was right around minus 260, I have it closer to minus 320, so some value there. And then another girl we like to bet on quite a bit, Nadia Podoroska, is playing Anna Kalinskaya. She's right around minus 175, 180 for this match. I have her closer to minus 200. Put them together, we get a little bit better than plus 110. Again, parlays, as we've talked about this before, if you have an edge on both sides, it's good. If you don't, it's bad. It's kind of, gasoline to a fire, if you will. If it's a good fire, that's a good thing. If it's a bad fire, it's a bad thing.
It will exacerbate an edge or lack thereof, no matter what you're doing. So take it easy on just I got to find another leg for this. And did the Watson match cancel? Did we bet Watson versus, I don't think
I need to go back and look. It was really close. It canceled, I think, either while we were on air or just before. And I can't remember what match I got. I'm going to have to go back and look at that.
Because she's scheduled to play Harriet Dart now. And I feel like it was Kovinich, because we talked about how to say the C at the end of it.
Okay, cool. So we won. We got a half win on our parlay yesterday.
Yeah, I feel it. Yeah, and I threw Fernandez. And by the time I placed the bet, the Watson one was canceled, so I threw Fernandez in there, and so I ended up with a winner. And maybe I'll throw. Real quick, what do you think of Watson over Harriet Dart at about same price,
I like that
minus
too.
250?
It's minus 250. That seems just about right to me. I don't know if there's a big edge there. Dart again had to qualify a little bit, so she kind of has some form. And her and Watson, both British players,
know
each other a few times. Yeah. So something I generally stay away from. It's a tough slate in Monterrey today. Normally I'd have more totals given this many matches. You've got Sloane Stephens playing in her first match in quite some time. it's almost a good idea at this point to just blindly bet against her. But she's playing Kristina Kokova, who's not even a good ITF player, frankly.
No.
So you can't do something like that. Gracheva Zhang is going to be, I think, a fun back and forth match. The total is sitting at 21.5, which seems like a half a game too high to me. But there's a great chance that goes 3 sets. It's kind of one of those dynamics I talked about yesterday, where I almost want to bet under 21.5 and then put a smaller stake on over 2.5 sets, make a little bit of money, as long as they don't somehow thread the needle of going, over in 2 sets. And that's kind of the rest of the day. I mean, Blinkova, Golubic, we kind of want to go over there, but Golubic has been kind of beating the crap out of people, even though Blinkova is generally an over player. That's just kind of a messy slate. Jeannie Bouchard coming off her win, Tormo coming off her win last week. So, yes, they've had some rest, but, we hate playing women the week after wins, no matter what Kelly wrote. Yes, there's some fatigue stuff and a little bit of a travel there. So it's just a tough slate for the women today. That's why you've got just the parlay and then the total that starts in a couple hours.
I'll have to take a look at it. I'll probably play the parlay because I'm in on that. So, and then real quick, like I said, I didn't have edges on these, but I mean, they're still going to play them. I'm 99% sure they're playing these in Frisco, Texas. Obviously, the NIT is normally at the Garden. It's always, the apple. There's always the picture of the apple. It's the Big Apple. So they're playing this, I think, at a few different places in Texas. I believe this one is in Frisco and the other one is in Denton. Frisco at the Star, which is somewhere. It's one of the places they hold some of the conference tournaments. Maybe the Southland. I should know. I just wrote a shitload of previews about this. And then the other game is in Denton, which I think is where North Texas does play their basketball. They are into the big tournament from winning their conference tournament over Western Kentucky, who plays today. A lot of people on Western Kentucky making some cases saying Western Kentucky is a better team here. My numbers tend to agree. They make this St. Mary's by about a half point rather than 2, but I did some smoothing and did some more comparisons. And honestly, after I looked at it about 3 different ways, this line is pretty damn close. St. Mary's has a really, really good defense, like top 10 in the nation kind of defense, and they play at a crazy slow pace. You can see the total here. If you're tempted to bet an over 125 here, maybe pump the brakes on that. Not only do they play bottom 10 slowest offenses as far as average possession length, their tempo is crazy slow. That's just how they play. They're going to be on a neutral court playing a slow tempo with a really good defense versus another team that, while they're not, bottom 10, they're bottom half of the country as far as tempo. So Western Kentucky does not play a fast up-tempo game. So this is going to be a slow game. That's why we're seeing a total like this. Not only that, the faster-paced team is facing a top 10 defense. So I make this pretty close. Honestly, I can't bet into either of these numbers. If I had to bet a total, I'd bet the under here. Like, this game could end up like 52-51. This could be just an absolute snoozer. After this game doesn't start till 6. I'm going to go look at some of the results from the Frisco Star, because we did just have a conference tournament. I want to see maybe if there's some signal there on how teams were shooting at Frisco, Texas. The other one, these are a couple teams I lost futures on. Western Kentucky lost in overtime to North Texas. And that's too, you start to look at motivation. Some of these teams in the NIT, like St. Mary's, they really didn't have a shot based on how they played this year and who they had to play in the conference tournament. I mean, they just got smoked by the Zags. But Western Kentucky, they were absolutely in it to go to the tournament. They were in overtime with North Texas, couldn't get it done. Now they're in the NIT. So some of these games I do like to watch and see if there's some body language like, oh shit, this team does not care. They don't want to be here at all. Like, they're gross. Like, they don't give a shit about the NIT. Usually it's more major programs where some of these mid majors, they can get their kids up and fired up to play a few extra games, get ready for next year. Especially a team like, oh, we were so close to making it. We're gonna get some extra games in as a bonus, and we're gonna be better for it next year. So if I had to bet it, I'd bet Western Kentucky on the money line and the under. Somebody says, joining a little late, but either of you reveal your own March Madness brackets? So, I mean, with the game theory of how it goes, like, I do different March Madness brackets based on the size of the pool. So I'll probably fill out 10, and none of them will be the same. They'll have a lot of similarities, but like I said yesterday, I'm starting to work on some blogs that I'll be putting out over the next couple days. So I'll put out like my projections, or my broad spectrum projections for the bracket. So I will have a bracket put out in 4 pieces eventually here this week.
We'll talk through it.
I don't know. Do you fill them out? Do you fill them out, Alex?
I do. I fill a bunch out, and I kind of do the same thing you do. What I actually start with is the first bracket I do. I used to print them out. I don't have a printer this year, but I would take one and fill one out in pen. And I don't fill the whole thing out, but I basically go through and look out and fill out, most probably 75 to 65 to 75% of the first round, and so on and so on. And that, kind of like you said, that was my base. And basically every bracket would have those games picked, and then the rest I would sort of bounce around and change a little bit.
Yeah, so I'm kind of the same way. Like it's almost like building DFS lineups. You have your core 4. Like you do have some core tenets. Like I do believe this team is coming out of the region, and I'm going to stake, my, however you want to say it, your entry fees on it. So I'm similar to that, and I will put some of my thoughts on some of the games as we get going here. The other NIT game, as I mentioned in Denton, is we have NIT tomorrow too, or what day is it today? Oh, these are tomorrow. Shoot, I'm talking about tomorrow's games.
I was going to say, I didn't think there were games tonight, but you were so confident.
I got excited because
you were doing such a good job. I just let you go.
I pulled up NCAA. Well, I'm going to talk about them anyway because we're going to get heavy into golf tomorrow. So I'm going to talk about this anyway. This is tomorrow night. Damn it. I was excited to watch basketball tonight. I just pulled up the ESPN app and looked at the scores, and it pulled up like, hey, here's the next games. And I just assumed it'd be this evening. So I my mistake. These are Wednesday. I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed for you. But we are ready to go. Toledo is the team I faded in their conference tournament. I actually got a winner in the MAC, 10-1 on Ohio. Felt real good. This is a crazy good offense. Top 25 offense and efficiency in the country, obviously the best in the league. They're averaging over 83 points scored over their last 10 games. This is the opposite of the other game. I mean, look at this, totals $155 almost. So
I know
this is going to be quite different. Again, still in a neutral, in a weird spot. Couple of mid-majors, although Richmond obviously had their eyes on maybe a run through their bracket in the Atlantic 10 and possibly getting an at-large if they could, I think they kind of sealed their fate before the tournament with some choice losses. But, this is a team people liked before the season. This is a good team. They had a couple ugly losses. They lost to St. Joe's once they got Daly back there. They lost to LaSalle back in January. And the loss to Duquesne in the tournament was gross. Like they were favored. They were supposed to take that one and move on. So now they get Toledo. I don't know where their head's at, but this should be a bit of a shootout here. I guess I didn't even run numbers on this one. I think, I did. I made this one. I made this one just as close. Although I do think this total is probably still even a little low. It's funny. I want to bet the under on the low total and the over on the high total instead of finding the easy way in the middle. But I still think
it's not a bad idea. People have an over-under bias the other way.
There's a bit of a bias. I still do think this should be like 158. So I would probably lean towards the over. And honestly, Richmond has been so disappointing against teams that were well below where Toledo is. And, the MAC is not the Atlantic 10, but still, this is a very good offense. This is, even in the games in the tournament, they played a close overtime game and lost to Ohio. They still cracked 80 in both of those. Obviously, one was overtime, but, they had 80 points before they got to, I think, they had like 79 going into overtime. So they're always out there putting up 80 points. It's just what they do. So I'd lean towards the over, and I'd lean towards Toledo. Again, I'd lay the points here, -2. So that's for tomorrow. And I guess we won't talk basketball tomorrow because I ruined it. And we'll just do golf, tennis, and some NBA.
Maybe we'll show the folks some sections of our bracket or something. I don't know. We'll figure something out.
Then we'll play around with that. Talk tomorrow. We're getting soon. So, Wednesday and Thursday we have NIT action. Thursday we'll have a college basketball guest. And Friday, the tournament starts with some other stuff. I think I'm not sure when play-in games are. I'm going to have to look at schedule on that. But
I thought play-in games are maybe Thursday.
I think we're getting close. And, yes, you did miss NBA discussion. We hit that off the bat. If you want to rewatch this, Also, I'll post the YouTube link on Twitter so you can watch it on YouTube. It was like the first 5 minutes. We hit NBA right away. So with that, let's call it a day. We'll regroup tomorrow. We'll see you guys. Thanks for the hang. As always, follow us on
The BetSperts app.
the BetSperts app at Andy and at Alex Christensen. And that's it.